We are on the record for hearings in the matters listed in the North Dakota Industrial Commission hearing docket for March 24th, 2022. I'm Stephen Nelson, hearing examiner for these hearings. We are at the hearing room for the Department of Mineral Resources, Oil and Gas Division, and it is 9:01 a.m. On the docket, the following matters will be continued or dismissed. On page 1, case number 29213 is continued to April. Case number 29263 is dismissed. In the supplemental docket, case number 29274 is dismissed, and case number 29276 is dismissed. The administrative docket starts on page 3 with case number 29259 and goes through case number 29267 and includes the docket supplements beginning with case number 29268 and ending with case number 29278. The following cases will be remanded: case number 29268, 29269, 29270, 29271, 29272, 29273, 29274, 29275, 29276, and 29277. The remainder of these cases will be heard in the next room with Michael Zisch. Audio recordings of the cases on the administrative docket will be placed on the oil and gas website by the end of the week. If you wish to appear in one of the matters on the administrative docket, please appear in the next room. If there is opposition to the matter, it will be brought back into this hearing room to be heard, and your statements and evidence will be taken. We will begin with case number 29251, a motion of the Commission to review the relief granted under numbers 28396, 30386, and 31115, authorizing Sampson Oil and Gas USA, Incorporated, temporary authority to rework and use the Maze number 1-20H well, file number 15646, section 28, township 150 north, range 102 west, McKenzie County, North Dakota, as a combined production injection well for an enhanced oil recovery pilot operation in the Foreman Butte Madison Pool, and such other relief as is appropriate. Will all interested parties please come forward?
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. My name is Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, North Dakota, and I'm appearing in this matter on behalf of Eagle Operating, Inc. As you indicated, the caption refers to Sampson Oil and Gas USA, Inc. At the time this application was originally filed, Sampson was the operator of the wells at issue in this proposed pilot project operation. Since that time, the wells at issue have been transferred. Operator is now Eagle Operating, Inc., and Eagle also owns an interest in some of the surrounding wells. This project is still very important. It's now important to Eagle Operating as well as Sampson. Sampson retained some interest in these wells. With that in mind, we intend to call one witness, Mr. Jim Legursky, and Mr. Legursky is going to provide the Commission with the information that the Commission's order approving this pilot project requested when it came back for a hearing. And then also on the phone with us is Mr. Nicholas Tim. Nicholas is a district superintendent for Eagle, and in the event that there are some specific questions with respect to operations in the field generally and in this pilot project, Mr. Tim will be able to address those. So as I indicated, our first witness will be Jim Legursky, and he's on the phone now.
Mr. Legursky, can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
Jim, would you state your full name for the record, please?
My full name is James R. Legursky.
And Jim, by whom are you employed?
The name of my company is His Resources Engineering and Management. In this particular case, I am here in behalf of Eagle Operating Incorporated.
Okay. And you're a engineer by education and training, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I'm a petroleum engineer, registered professional petroleum engineer.
Okay. And in that capacity, you've testified before the Commission previously and had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes, I have.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
The testimony will be received as that of an expert.
Jim, do you have a packet of exhibits in front of you that we, for this case, 29251?
Yes, I do.
What I'd like you to do, Jim, is let's turn to the first exhibit in the packet, which has been previously marked as Exhibit 1. And what I would like you to do, Jim, is identify Exhibit 1 and then briefly discuss what's contained upon it.
Okay. First of all, I would like to point out that these exhibits have been produced by Nessett Consulting Firm under my direction and supervision. Randy Nessett is the head of their engineering department, very knowledgeable, with a lot of field experience engineer, and they produced these exhibits under my supervision and direction. But getting back to exhibit number 1 is a plat of the pilot project located within the Foreman Butte field. As you can see on the plat, in yellow is the injection well of the Mays 120H injection well. Directly to the north of that and up dip from that is the Robertson 117 well, and the following 6 wells located in the surrounding sections, colored in light green, are the monitoring wells.
All right, let's go to the next exhibit, and I apologize, mine is kind of upside down. I hope that didn't happen to all of you, but perhaps it did. Jim, let's go to Exhibit 2. As you did with Exhibit 1, tell us what Exhibit 2 is and what's contained upon it.
Okay, exhibit number 2 gives all the history from the Mays 120H injection well in this pilot project. And looking at that exhibit, you can see how erratic it is. The injection has not been continuous. They've had lots of downtime. The injected barrels, the amount of injected barrels is in blue, and the reservoir pressure or the injection pressure is in red. And there again, I'd like to note on this exhibit that it is very discontinuous and irregular. They did not have continuous injection in this particular well. And that's basically what I want to cover on exhibit number 2.
Okay. And Jim, when you say they, are you talking about the prior operator, Sampson, or is that also the case with respect to Eagle's injection efforts?
Mainly that the prior operator, Sampson Resources, had a lot of problems with this well. Eagle took over the operations of this well in April 13th, and they began injection in May of 21st, and they have tried to maintain the injection. However, they ran into problems with downhole tubing leaks and maybe packer failure. And but Eagle did not take over the injection until actually they first injected in May of 1921, which you can see on the profile, and they injected for 3 more months, but ran into problems, tubing leaks, and I believe downhole problems.
Do you know why there was no injection from, let's say, October of 2020 to April or May of 2021? And I realize that during that period of time, Eagle was not the operator, but do you have any information or knowledge as to understand why no injection was taking place during that period of time?
Well, I do know that after Eagle obtained approval from the commission to be the operator of it, their first project was to completely update the Mays injection facility, which required some time and some money and a lot of work. So that was a short period of time there. The time before then, I am not sure. I think Sampson just literally had to shut everything in.
Okay. All right, let's go on to the next exhibit, then, Jim, 3A, I believe. As you did with the previous two exhibits, first identify the exhibit and then briefly discuss the importance of the exhibit with respect to today's hearing.
Okay, Exhibit 3A is an exhibit of all the fluid levels taken in the pilot project. And as you can see, they're fairly sporadic. You have one particular well, the Banks well, which has a very flat fluid level. That is probably the only well in this particular pilot project where it has reached a static fluid level condition. This particular well was shut in 2013, and it's been shut in longer than any of the other wells, and therefore that's why it has probably the only well there where you see the flat fluid level. That represents that well is in static condition. The rest of the wells pretty much are in erratic, except for maybe a couple of the wells that are inclining in fluid level. The Jackson 129H well in particular, and the Williams 119 well, both of those wells are down dip from the Mays injection well. They're more or less on the edge of the field, and what is happening there is what you're seeing is water influx. And the rest of the wells are pretty much sporadic, as can be seen on the fluid level chart.
All right, and 3B.
Yeah, Exhibit 3B is the bottom hole pressures. Again, I'll go back first to the Banks well. You can see where that bottom hole pressure has remained flat. That because that is the only well that's in static condition. You can see several. I can see several of the two wells that I just mentioned previously, the Jackson 129 well and the Williams 119 well, which show an incline, and that, again, is from the water influx into those two wells.
All right, then let's go to Exhibit 4. Tell us what that is and the importance of this exhibit with respect to the application.
Okay, Exhibit number 4 is the monthly oil production rates coming from the wells in the pilot project. As you can see, mainly the Robinson 117 and the Killebrew well are the two main production wells.
And
Also,
go ahead. I'm sorry, Jim. Didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I was going to say you can see some of the other wells. They have very sporadic production off and on, and that's why you see the Mantle well has sporadic production. All of these wells had a lot of downtime. I think the previous operator had a lot of mechanical issues with a lot of the wells, and that's why you see such sporadic production again.
Okay, how about Exhibit 5?
Exhibit 5 is simply the gas production rates of the pilot project well, and specifically the main thing is to the cumulative gas on how much that is increased throughout the life of this pilot project.
Okay, and Exhibit 6?
Okay, Exhibit 6 is the water production rates from the wells in the pilot. As you can see again, the Robinson and the Killebrew, the two wells that are still producing, and the Mantle well that has some sporadic production. Those are the only wells that basically are listed on this.
All right, right, and let's then go to Exhibit 7 and provide for the commission staff what Eagle's recommendation is with respect to this pilot project.
Okay, this is naturally my assessment of the pilot project. Would you like me to read this or let the commission read it for themselves? Or
I'd like you to summarize it. You don't have to read it. They can read, but I'd like you to just give a brief summary
Okay.
of what you're recommending.
Basically, I've summarized the assessment of the pilot in the very first sentence. And I said at the current time, due to the non-continuous injection in the Maze 120 well, the successfulness of the pilot ejection project cannot be determined. And then I went on to say when Eagle, again, had the authority to take over the field was in April of 2021, and they began production in May of 21, but Eagle ceased production in October of 21 due to downhole problems with tubing leaks and I believe maybe some packer problems. Since that time, Eagle had to wait, mainly due to the rig availability, to get a rig on the Maze well to do a workover on that well. They did finally get a workover well rig on the well on March 14th. That was just for this month. They've done the workover project on the well, replaced tubing, and they also replaced the downhole packer to a quick on-off packer. And they resumed production in the well, and they are currently producing around 1,600 barrels per day at a pressure of 500 to 750 barrels per day. They would like to be able to maintain this continuous amount of production. But what I've also summarized in this assessment is their next workover project that they already have intentions to do. They have already ordered 3.5-inch internally coated tubing, and naturally, because of the condition of the trucking situation and everything, that tubing was ordered a little over close to 2 months ago. And so they're waiting on that tubing to get that tubing in, and then they will do the workover project to install the 3.5-inch tubing, internally coated tubing, which will allow them to inject more fluid at a decreased pressure. And hopefully their intentions with this is to continuously be able to inject into the Maze well at approximately the same pressure at a decreased pressure with more fluid maybe. And in order to do this, in order to evaluate this, is going to take about 2 years. And that's what Eagle is requesting, is that they be allowed to continuously inject in this well for another 2 years, especially after they do this second workover project. Eagle has spent a lot of time, a lot of money in this. They also have the consulting firms that I related to at the beginning of this Nessa Consulting working on the unitization of this field. And so they are spending a lot of time and have already spent a lot of money on trying to get all of this put together and trying to have a successful pilot project here.
And Jim, do you
But
believe...
they do need more time in order to prove that up.
And Jim, would Eagle have any objection if the commission were to require that Eagle come back in a year from today or a year from the time an order is entered in this matter to once again report to the commission as to what's transpiring with this proposed pilot project?
No, we would not have any objections at all. Like I say, it will take some time before we can see any results in it. And so, yes, at that time we would be happy to come back in and give the Eagle, or give the commission an update on what Eagle has done.
Mr. Examiner, I don't have any other questions of this witness. We would offer exhibits 1 through 7.
The exhibits are admitted. Are there any questions from commission staff?
Jim, this pilot project, the first water was injected in October of 2017. And so it's been 4.5 years. It seems like it's taken a long time to figure out if this pilot's going to work because they can't get any injection to be consistent. What is Eagle going to do differently to have a consistent project so they can make a determination if this is going to be successful or not?
Well, unfortunately, the only thing that I have to say about that is the previous operator was unsuccessful in keeping these wells up to date, keeping the mechanical problems that they encountered up to date and fixed. I think they were running into money issues to keep these wells operating, and that's why you see the inconsistent in injection, the inconsistent in the continuous injection of, the same amount of injection every month. It was mainly due to a lot of mechanical problems, and I'm not going to sit here and badmouth the previous operator, but evidently that's kind of most of the problem.
So has there been, in your opinion,
Excuse me, could you repeat that?
I say, in your opinion, has there been any response to the injection so far?
No. There will not be any response to the injection that you can see until gas fill-up is reached in this reservoir or this pilot project. Now, how long that's going to take, I don't know. In case those that don't understand that, Mr. Helms could explain that to you.
You're not suggesting I call Mr. Helms as a witness, though?
No, but if they want me to, I can tell them exactly what's going to happen.
Okay. I don't know. Mark, do you want to know that, or?
Well, so your opinion is that they need to achieve reservoir fill-up around the injection well before they might see some effects of that in the offsetting wells.
Well, that's kind of a something. Yes, we want to see reservoir fill-up, but reservoir fill-up is not going to change the production of the well surrounding the injection well. What you're going to do once you reach reservoir fill-up is you're going to slowly start to increase the reservoir pressure. However, there won't be any oil that is moved until, again, I say, until gas fill-up is reached, which is entirely different than reservoir fill-up. Now, if you want me to explain that further, if you don't understand that, let me get my water flood manual from Cobb and Associates Worldwide, a group that does water.
Jim, I don't think Mark's asking you to do that, so I don't think you need to do that.
Okay, well, if not, I can definitely furnish him exactly what it says too.
Yeah, he can submit that.
Okay. Just, Jim, you and I will talk after the hearing, and we'll talk about what we want to submit.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't have any further questions at this time.
Jim, this is Bruce Hicks. As far as the report on this, the workover that was done, you will submit that to the commission, correct?
Yes, that workover that has been done has already been submitted and approved. I believe it's in your North Star system.
Okay. And was the well pressure tested yet? Mechanical integrity test?
Yes, I believe that was included when they finished with the well.
Okay. And have they returned the well to injection?
Yes, the injection just started earlier this week.
Okay. And what volumes do you anticipate? Are you going to inject? Let's see here. It looks like when Eagle had it, it was between 40,000 and just under 50,000 barrels a month. Is that the rates they intend to inject at with the 2 7/8 tubing?
Well, right now, if everything holds like it is, like I said, with the injection just started, they were injecting around 1,600 barrels per day at 500 to 750 psi pressure. So if that holds, they will continue injecting that amount, which would be right around the 48,000 barrels per month, providing they don't get any large pressure increases in injection pressure. There again, like I say, keep in mind what they have done has already ordered 3.5-inch tubing so they can be assured of this to be continuously able to inject that amount of around 48 to 50,000 barrels per month at a lower pressure. And naturally, when they put the bigger tubing in, internally coated tubing in it, they can inject more at a lower pressure. And so that's basically what their intentions are with the second workover, which will be started and which will be filed as soon as they get this the new tubing in, the 3.5-inch tubing that they've ordered. Until then, they will keep injecting in this 2 7/8 stream that is in the hole at the current time.
It appears that additional water is produced from that field. Do they intend to increase the volumes if it takes it at a lesser pressure, or are they going to try to just maintain that current rate?
I believe they'll try and maintain that current rate.
Okay, thank you.
Jim, this is Lynn Helms. Have you estimated the volume of water that it's going to take to reach gas fill-up?
No, I haven't. Unfortunately, under most of these water flood projects, anywhere from 20 to 50% the water is lost out of zone, and especially when you're looking at open hole completion. So I have no way of really knowing or estimating how long that's going to take before we do reach gas fill-up, and that's why we are requesting, at least 2 years to monitor the well. But we will definitely know that when we start seeing a production increase, particularly in the Robinson well. But there again, I have no idea, and unfortunately, I'm not able to give you a definite time on when I think that's going to happen. because I think there's quite a bit of gas that still has to be. We definitely need to get the pressure up in order to start redissolving the gas into solution.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions from commission staff? Seeing none? There was a request for a supplement, I guess, there, kind of. I guess you need to,
What's not next Friday, but the following Friday? Do you have a calendar?
yeah, so next Friday is the 31st, and the following Friday is the 1st.
Okay. Nope, the first.
Or, sorry, nope, I got that wrong. 1st and then the 8th.
Okay, all right. How about April 8th?
April 8th?
Yeah.
Sure. The record will remain open until April 8th. Anything further, Mr. Bender?
Nothing further.
That will conclude the hearing for case number 29251. Moving on, case number 29213. A motion of the commission to consider the termination or any other appropriate action of the Bear Creek Dupro unit, Dunn County, North Dakota, operated by XTO Energy. This case is continued to April. Moving on. I believe we will be hearing these following cases together. Is that correct, Mr. Bender?
Yes, Mr. Examiner, we have combined for purposes of hearing cases 29252 through 29255, and then we'd like to keep separate case 29256. The reason for that, Mr. Examiner, is someone did file an objection with the commission. Thought they might be here. I don't see that they are, but since that's the way we prepared the exhibits, we'd like to proceed in that manner, if that's okay.
Sure. We will call up the cases for 29252 through 29255.
And I've handed out the exhibits, and I should have on the phone Eric Hernandez, Layla Harris, and Alex Cody. Are you all there?
Yes.
Great.
All right, so.
Okay, and I don't know if you all heard, we're going to take the four cases that are combined first, and since we've already separated out the exhibits, we'll take 29256 next, and there doesn't appear to be anyone in the hearing room.
We're beginning with 29252 through 29255 first, and then going to,
Oh, did I misstate that?
yes. Yeah.
Oh, sorry for that.
We'll be maintaining the order.
Yeah, so the four cases first, and then the last case, 29256 last. So, sorry about that, Mr. Examiner.
That's all right. I'm going to go through I call them out first here. So, case number 29252, application of Continental Resources Incorporated for an order amending the field rules for the St. Demetrius Bakken Pool, Billings County, North Dakota, so as to create and establish an overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit comprised of section 36, township 142 north, range 99 west, and sections 1 and 12, township 141 north, range 99 west, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 4 wells on said proposed overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit and or such further relief. Case number 29253, application of Continental Resources, Inc. for an order amending the field rules for the St. Demetrius Bakken Pool, Billings County, North Dakota, so as to create and establish an overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit comprised of section 35, township 142 north, range 99 west, and sections 2 and 11, township 141 north, range 99 west, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 4 wells on said proposed overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit and or such further relief. Case number 29254, application of Continental Resources, Inc. for an order amending the field rules for the St. Demetrius Bakken Pool, Billings County, North Dakota, so as to create and establish an overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit comprised of section 34, township 142 north, range 99 west, and sections 3 and 10, township 141 north, range 99 west, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 4 wells in said proposed overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit and or such further relief. And case number 29255, application of Continental Resources, Inc. for an order amending the field rules for the St. Demetrius Bakken Pool, Billings County, North Dakota, so as to create and establish an overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit comprised of section 33, township 142 north, range 99 west, and sections 4 and 9, Township 141 North, Range 99 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 4 wells on said proposed overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit and/or such further relief. Will all interested parties please come forward?
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in these 4 consolidated matters on behalf of Continental Resources, Inc. I might just say before we start, Mr. Examiner, the reason we filed these as 5 separate applications was we didn't know if we were going to receive any opposition, and if we did receive opposition, we wanted to focus that opposition just on the cases that someone opposed. But it was always our intent, because these requests are for similar relief, they're all in the same area, was to combine and consolidate. Hope that isn't confusing, and with that in mind, our first witness will be Eric Hernandez.
Mr. Hernandez, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. You solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Eric, would you state your full name for the record, please?
Yes, sir. Eric Hernandez,
And Eric, by whom are you employed?
Continental Resources.
In what capacity?
I'm a Northern Region layman.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
No, sir. This is first time.
Okay. Eric, what I'd like you to do is briefly highlight for the examiner and the commission staff your educational background and work experience.
Yes, sir. So, graduated from the University of Oklahoma in December of 2015 with a degree in bachelor's in business administration, where I majored in energy management. After December of 15, started work really as an independent landman, working for a multitude of brokers between Texas and Oklahoma, up until February of 2017. February 2017, I began employment with Concho Resources out in Midland, Texas, as a landman for them. That lasted until May of 2018. And then since the beginning of June 2018, I've been employed by Continental Resources. First started employment with a short stint in our Oklahoma asset for roughly like 3 to 4 months. And ever since then, I've been working in our northern region.
Okay. And in preparation for today's hearing, have you made a thorough study and review of all the relevant land matters concerning these consolidated matters?
Yes, sir, I have.
And have you prepared or had prepared under your control and supervision some exhibits you intend to sponsor?
Yes, sir, I have.
Well, for the further testimony, this witness is that of an expert.
The testimony will be received as that of an expert.
All right, Eric, let's turn to the first exhibit in the packet, L1. Can you tell me what L1 is?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So Exhibit L1 here is it's a general locator map. The blue shows the field outline. The red and yellow there depict the proposed 1920 acre spacing units between these 4 cases.
Okay, and L2?
Exhibit L2 is going to be a detailed plat there for Section 36. On the right-hand side, it shows the working interest breakdown. Continental owns 17.19% working interest in Section 36 here.
And Exhibit L3?
Exhibit L3 is a land plat for Sections 1 and 12, showing the working interest breakdown there in the right-hand side. Continental owns 77.2% working interest.
And Exhibit L4?
So Exhibit L4 is going to be our detailed land plat for the proposed 1,920 acre unit, showing our working interest breakdown there on the right-hand side. Continental has a 57.19% working interest here.
All right, let's go to L5.
L5 is going to be a detailed plat for Section 35, showing the working interest breakdown there on the right. Continental owns a 9.38% working interest in Section 35.
L6?
Exhibit L6 is going to be a land plat for Sections 2 and 11, showing the working interest breakdown there on the right. Continental owns a 75.56% working interest.
And L7?
L7 is a detailed land plat for the proposed 1,920 acre spacing unit,
showing a work interest breakdown there on the right-hand side. Continental owns a 53.47% working interest.
All right, let's move now to Exhibit L8.
L8 is our detailed land plat for Section 34, showing the working interest breakdown there on the right. Continental owns a 65.63% working interest.
L9.
L9 is our detailed plat for Sections 3 and 10, showing the working interest breakdown there on the right. Continental owns a 82.5% working interest.
And then L10.
Exhibit L10 is our detailed land plat for the proposed 1,920 acre unit, showing our working interest breakdown there on the right. Continental owns a 76.87% working interest.
And then the fourth 1920, let's go to L11.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So Exhibit L11 is our detailed land plat for Section 33, showing the working interest breakdown there on the right. Continental owns a 1.67% working interest here.
And L12.
L12 is our detailed land plat for Sections 4 and 9, showing the working interest breakdown there on the right. Continental owns a 67.13% working interest.
And L13.
Exhibit L13 is our detailed land plat for the proposed 1,920 acre spacing unit, showing the work interest breakdown. There on the right, Continental owns a 45.29% work interest.
And because Continental owns less than a majority interest in your proposed 1920, will Continental have conversations with other working interest owners to determine who should be the operator?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we've actually, it's my understanding that we had a previous conversation earlier this week, and we will continue to have those conversations.
No further questions of the land witness.
Any questions from commission staff?
Eric, it appears that Continental operates the wells in 141 and XTO operates the wells in Township 142. Why doesn't XTO show up with any working interest in any of the northern tier sections?
Yes, sir. So it's my understanding that XTO assigned their interest to a White Rock Energy out of Plano, Texas. Not sure when that assignment was effective, but it was recently.
Okay. And so if Continental appears to have a larger interest in Township 141, why are you straddling the township line with these spacing units?
I mean, that our plan of development right now is these 1920 acre spacing units north to south. Kind of using our existing position, really.
So from a land perspective, is what you're saying that there is no reason from a land perspective, Eric?
No, there's no reason for a land perspective for a resource or a geology perspective. I would have to defer to our other witnesses here.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
And I apologize for interrupting. I thought we could get to the point quicker that way. So.
Any further questions from commission staff? Seeing none. Is Layla Harris was your next witness? Ms. Harris, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
You solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
Layla, state your full name for the record, please.
Layla Harris,
And Layla, by whom are you employed?
Continental Resources,
In what capacity?
Senior Operations Geologist.
And in that capacity, you've testified before the commission previously, correct?
Yes, I have.
Had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes, they have.
Offer the further testimony of this witness out of an expert.
It will be received as expert testimony.
Layla, let's go to the next exhibit in the packet, G1. Will you identify G1 and then briefly discuss what's contained upon it?
Yes, Exhibit G1 is our general locator map showing our requested proposed overlapping 1920 spacing units, highlighted in yellow and outlined in red. Also on this page, we have 50-foot contours on the upper Bakken surface that are displayed, and the type log, the crew shack 43X29F, has a red star.
Let's go to G2.
Okay, G2 is a crew shack type well, and this displays the logged unit from 50 feet above the Bakken, through the Bakken pool, down through the Three Forks Formation and into the Bird Bear Formation.
Okay. And Leila, in your opinion, do we have uniformity with respect to thickness, porosity, and permeability in the area of these proposed 1920s?
Yes, we do.
And is there an absence of faults and other anomalies?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Absence of faults and other anomalies in this proposed area.
Okay. And to address Mr. Bohr's question, is there a geologic reason for crossing the township line with your 1920s rather than moving to the south?
No, that would be engineering, reservoir engineering.
Okay. That's all the questions I have for Ms. Harris.
Any questions from commission staff? Okay, seeing none, move on to your third witness. I'm sorry, I missed the name of your third witness.
Alex Cote,
Alex Cody.
C-O-T-E.
Mr. Cody, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, sir, I do.
Alex, state your name for the record, please.
Alexander Cody,
And by whom are you employed?
Continental Resources,
In what capacity?
a Northern Region Resource Development Engineer.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
Yes, sir, I have.
Had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes, sir.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
The testimony will be received as that of an expert.
Thank you. Eric, E1.
Alex.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll go.
I apologize. Alex.
So E1 is a proposed directional plot for the 1920 acre spacing unit described by sections 1 and 12 in Township 141 North, 99 West, and section 36 and 142 North, 99 West. The purpose of this exhibit is to outline the 4 proposed 3-mile Middle Bakken wells shown by the dashed green lines. Also shown are the existing Middle Bakken laterals shown by the solid green lines. I'll also point out we've got a tentative unsurveyed surface location, and our intent for development would be to optimize on CapEx through utilizing surface location for this proposed 1920.
And Alex, how are you going to handle the drilling under the, or above, or whatever, the existing well in section 36? Can you just address that briefly with respect to the commission, with respect to how you're going to handle that?
So our drilling group has encountered several of these open hole laterals that would drill across. They recently did one of a cased lateral in Montana. They just request that the lateral be shut in while they're drilling through that to ensure that they don't encounter losses.
Okay. And do you set back from the well bore a bit in terms of fracking, or how do you handle that?
I think that could definitely be accomplished.
Okay.
I would need to get with our operations engineer to confirm that, but I'm sure that they could definitely stage around it if it was a concern.
Okay. Let's go to E2.
E2, I know it says proposed directional well plot. This should actually say an alternative directional well plot for those same sections in sections 1 and 12, 141 North, 99 West, section 36, and 142 North, 99 West. This would be a 1280 and 640 acre spacing unit. The purpose of this exhibit is to outline for that same 3-mile development shown in E1. This would require 8 undeveloped laterals depicted with the dashed green lines. You can still see the existing laterals there with the solid green line. The only difference is that this would require double the surface locations and double the vertical portions of those laterals.
So whether you develop this on a 1920 or a 1280 and a 640, you still have the issue of crossing an existing well that runs diagonally through section 36, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right, let's go to E3.
E3 is a proposed directional well plot for the 1920 acre spacing unit, comprised of sections 2 and 11 of Township 141 North, 99 West, Section 35, and 142 North, 99 West. Again, this is showing a 3-mile development with the 4 proposed Middle Bakken wells in the dashed green line. We have the solid green line, which shows the bilateral and trilateral open hole wells in all of the sections. And again, the one surface location to optimize on CapEx.
And E4.
E4 is an alternative directional well plot for the same sections outlined in E3 in sections 2 and 11 of 141 North, 99 West, section 35 of 142 North, 99 West. Again, you can see that there will be 8 proposed laterals developed on a 2-mile and 1-mile basis and double the surface locations.
Okay, let's go to E5.
E5 is a proposed directional well plot for the 1920 acre spacing unit in sections 3 and 10 of 141 North, 99 West, section 34 of 142 North, 99 West. Again, this is outlining the 3-mile development with the 4 proposed Middle Bakken laterals and the existing, and shown by the dashed green line, and then the existing development shown by the solid green lines. The one difference in this section, as opposed to the ones we've previously spoken about, we do have a CLR-operated cased and completed lateral shown on the west side of sections 3 and 10.
E6.
E6 is an alternative directional well plot if this were to be developed on a 1280 and 640 acre spacing basis for the sections explained in E5. Again, you can see the 8 undeveloped laterals with the dashed green lines, and then the solid green lines depict the existing wellbores. Again, noting the double the amount of surface locations and vertical in each of these sections.
E7.
E7 is a proposed directional well plot for the 1920 acre spacing unit in sections 4 and 9 of 141 North, 99 West, section 33, 142 North, 99 West. We're showing the proposed 3-mile development with the 4 dashed green line and the existing development with the solid green line indicating an existing Middle Bakken lateral and the solid pink line depicting the Three Forks 1 existing lateral. Both of these wells are cased.
And E8.
E8 is an alternative directional well plot for if these 3 sections were to be developed on a 1280 and 640 acre spacing basis. For the sections described in E7, again, we've got 8 undeveloped laterals with 2 surface locations.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's go to E9. Can you tell me what E9 is?
So E9 outlines the reserves and economics for the different development options outlined in E1 through E8. I'm going to focus our attention first on the 1920 acre spacing unit, which is on the far right of the exhibit. This is for the 3-mile development on the 1920s. Starting with the oil IP of about 1,200 barrels a day, we would expect an EUR of about 600 MBO, a total EUR of 842 MBOE, with an EUR GOR of about 2,415 SCF per barrel. Looking at the economics, The economics were ran at 60.3 for oil and gas prices, with a total estimated gross drilling and completion cost of just over $9 million. With the 60.3 pricing and the reserves mentioned above, we would expect a total PV10 for one well of $8.521 million, a rate of return of 88%, and an undiscounted payout years of 1.2 years. Next, we'll look at the 1280 acre spacing, which would represent a 2-mile well. We would expect an IP of about 1,000 barrels a day with an EUR of 428 MBO, total EUR of 597 MBOE, an EUR GOR of 2,371 SCF per barrel. Looking at the economics again, at 60.3 for oil and gas prices, with the estimated gross drilling and completion costs of $7.1 million, the 60.3 pricing and the reserves mentioned before, we would expect a total PV10 for this well to be $5.693 million, a rate of return of 81%, and an undiscounted payout years of 1.3 years. Lastly, looking at the 1-mile well to be drilled on a 640 basis, we would expect an IP of 800 barrels a day, EUR of 264 MBO, total EUR of 364 MBOE, with an EUR GOR of 2288 SCF per barrel. Looking at those economics at 16.3 pricing, with a total gross drilling and completion cost of $5.88 million, the 16.3 pricing and the reserves mentioned above, we would expect a total PV10 for that well to be just right around $2.3 million per well, a rate of return of 46%, and an undiscounted payout years of 1.3 years. Also shown at the bottom of the exhibit are the reservoir parameters Layla spoke to previously.
Okay, let's go to Exhibit E10.
E10 represents the combined economics for the unit for the two different development patterns. Again, we'll start with the 3-mile development shown under the 1920. You would only need to drill a total of 4 wells per unit for a total drilling and completion cost of $36.16 million, with the reserves mentioned on E9 for those wells at that 16.3 pricing would result in a full project PV10 for the unit of just over $34 million. And when we look at it from a capital efficiency standpoint, looking at the total project net present value divided by the investment dollars spent would be 1.96. Moving into the 2-mile development, paired with 1-mile development, you would need to drill a total of 8 wells for the unit for a total investment required of just under $52 million in order to make, at that 60.3 pricing with the reserves mentioned on E9, in order to make a total net present value of just over $32 million. Again, looking at it from a capital efficiency standpoint, that would result in an NPV divided by investment dollar of 1.63, and which is the ultimate reason for trying to get these spaced into a 1920 development. Since you're not having to drill the extra verticals, twice the amount of verticals, and putting production equipment and facilities for those extra wells, the 3-mile efficiency shines through.
All right, and E11, very briefly.
E11 is a schematic for a typical 3-mile Middle Bakken well. We're showing a total depth of 26,000 feet with an approximate 15,000-foot lateral in the Middle Bakken interval. The lateral will be cemented and completed with approximately 65 plug and perf stages paired with hydraulic fracturing operations.
And then Exhibit GM1 is a gas capture affidavit that is typically required by the commission in these sorts of hearings. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
In your opinion, will the requested relief prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes, sir.
And finally, Alec, Aaron, can you address the issue of why you took the 1920 and had it cross township lines rather than moving it to the south?
So if you look in our unit there to the south of us, you can see that the existing laterals are cased. They're also kind of sporadic throughout the units relative to the sections we're talking about in the north side. So in order to make sure that we're getting optimal reservoir contact rather than moving our units to the south, we would look at trying to drill into the units which we have interest in, which are the existing production has open hole completions in it, so less modern stem, and try to optimize the development from that standpoint.
Mr. Examiner, that's all the questions I have. I'd offer the exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Are there any questions from commission staff?
Alex, looking at E1, there is an existing well on sections 1 and 12, another gull wing similar to the one on 2 and 11. It's not depicted on your exhibit. I'm assuming that's because it's a plugged and abandoned well?
Yes, sir, that's exactly.
Several times when you were discussing your exhibits E1 through E7, you made a point of calling out the open hole versus the cased laterals. And just now when you were talking about why proposing the 1920s, you indicated that you were trying to pick up the well bores or the spacing units that had open completions as opposed to cased completions. So why are we including 4 and 9 and 33? I thought the existing wells on those spacing units, you indicated they were all modern completions and cased.
So looking specifically at the well in section 33, that's an early vintage cased well. It hasn't been producing since 2018. And really just want to, make sure that we pick up those reserves in that section.
Okay, I guess on, go ahead.
For sections 3 and 10, we do have the existing cased that we just recently completed and brought on production. In order to optimally develop, looking at it from the capital efficiency standpoint, we would convert that to a 3-mile development. It really just makes operating in lower commodity environment conditions more appealing and easier to do. And then that would be carried out across the future development plans for the 3-mile sections that we would bring in.
Okay. With your answer there as far as why you're choosing to include 33, 4, and 9, is there a reason you chose not to include 5, 8, and 32?
We actually had conversations earlier this week about bringing those up in a future case.
So that's likely to come as another 1920 similar to these?
Yes, sir, depending on how this conversation goes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Alex, with your 1920 development pattern, so the wells to the south are pretty much all cased and stimulated wells?
The vast majority of them are, yes, sir. There are a few that are open hole, but the majority of the wells are cased. This would be a 2013-14 vintage completion.
And if this pattern is established, I mean, do you plan on extending this pattern further to the south?
So it's definitely one thing that we would be looking at. Again, there are challenges with the patterns laid out. If you look to the west, those laterals tend to lay in a relative spot to one another, north-south, so that would probably be an option. We also want to be cognizant of the existing infrastructure as far as gas and water takeaway, so we'll plan that into our development strategy.
Going south, you're going to eventually run into a densely developed area, so you're going to be limited in some sections may not be developable on a 1920 pattern. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. What I was speaking to was more specifically towards the east and west of where we're speaking to.
Okay, thank you.
Alex, one other question. Looks like your proposal for all the wells on the 1920s is to be all entirely Middle Bakken development. That's correct?
Yes, sir.
Is there a reason Continental isn't looking at anything in the Three Forks at this point?
That would be just due to the Bakken petroleum system as a whole. We see a little bit as we go to the north that it becomes a Middle Bakken target versus a Three Forks target. So that's why these are depicted as Middle Bakken.
Okay, that Three Forks well you have on 4 and 9, the 1280 well, is that one an economic prospect?
So with the lower Bakken shale in this area, we tend to think of this as more of a flow unit. So we would develop one or the other in any unit development.
So it just essentially doesn't matter which one you're targeting is what you're indicating?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Alex, this is Bruce Hicks. Do you plan to batch drill all 4 wells on each pad simultaneously?
So the development plan that we would employ would be multiple wells at a given time, but we would try to do it in a manner that would reduce our depletion effect for the future depletion for the wells to come back in later. So we would try to manage it in a sense where we drill between the existing producers to try and limit some of that depletion effect we see later out when coming back in next to the development.
And what's the timing on these pads? If you complete all of them about the same time, I assume that you would overwhelm the gas gathering system.
So the first step that we've gotten on our development plan was to first hear it at the NDIC level. From there, we'll make sure that it falls on our drill schedule where it's optimal, and would definitely be working with our gas marketers to make sure that we've got adequate takeaway. Where it plots right now is towards the end of year 2023. That'll allow us time to obviously get things permitted and spaced, while also getting a plan together with our gatherers.
And the gas-oil ratios that you're listing, are those what you anticipate your producing gas-oil ratio to be?
Yes, sir. That would be an EUR, GOR. So it'll rise over time. It'll start low and then rise.
Okay, and how will these be produced? Will you have ESPs on the hole?
So right now, the wells that we do have are ESP. We'll evaluate whether it's ESP or gas lift, depending on variable circumstances. But it will be flowed and have an aggressive artificial lift, and then it will go to rods. Yes, sir.
And are you apprising the gas gatherer in the system on your production methods and the anticipated gas that you would have with that?
Yes, sir. Those conversations would be had.
Okay, thank you.
Alex, you had discussed completing and drilling around those open hole laterals that you have south of the township line. If those ended up taking a frac hit and required clean out with their current production, would they actually be cleaned out, or would you plan on just plugging them?
So with the open hole laterals that we've had in the past, if they take a bash, we'll tend to clean those out as far as we can, to a point, where we don't run into any operational challenges in order to restore those back to production.
And have you been in discussions with White Rock for your current plan, since they operate the 2 open hole laterals north of the township line?
We have, as Eric mentioned, we were on the phone with them earlier this week. We will continue to have those conversations as operations get closer.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions from commission staff? Seeing none. Anything further, Mr. Bender?
Nothing further.
That will conclude the hearing for cases number 29252, 29253, 29254, and 29255. Moving on. Case number 29256, application of Continental Resources, Inc. for an order amending the field rules for the Bull Snake Bakken Pool, Billings County, North Dakota, so as to create and establish an overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit comprised of Section 31, Township 142 North, Range 98 West, and Sections 6 and 7, Township 141 North, Range 98 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 4 wells on said proposed overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit and or such further relief. Will all interested parties please come forward?
Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, appearing in this matter on behalf of Continental Resources, Inc. We'll have 3 witnesses, same 3 witnesses as appeared in the previous 4 consolidated matters.
So, Mr. Hernandez, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Eric, let's go to L1. Can you tell me what L1 is?
Yes, sir. Exhibit L1 is going to be our general locator map. Blue shows the filled outlines. The red and yellow there depict the proposed 1,920 acre spacing unit.
L2.
Exhibit L2 is our detailed plat for Section 31, showing the working interest breakdown there on the right. White Rock Energy owns 100% of the working interest here.
And L3.
L3 is going to be our land plat for Sections 6 and 7, showing the working interest breakdown there on the right. Continental Resources owns 89.49% working interest here.
And L4.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so Exhibit L4 is going to be our detailed land plat for the proposed 1,920 acre spacing unit, showing the working interest breakdown there on the right. Continental Resources owns 59.75% working interest here.
No further questions.
Any questions from commission staff?
Eric, I assume that, as in the previous cases, XTO has assigned its interest to White Rock?
Yes, sir. That is my.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none. Ms. Harris, are you still on the line?
Yes, I am.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
Layla, Exhibit G1 and G2, are they identical to the exhibits G1 and G2 that were presented in the consolidated matters 29252 through 29255?
Yes, they are, except G1 has just the proposed 1920 spacing unit with the sections 31, 6, and 7 highlighted in yellow and outlined in red.
Okay.
But otherwise, same type log and everything else is exactly the same.
So all the testimony you would have provided in the previous consolidated matters would be equally applicable here?
Absolutely.
No further questions.
Any questions from commission staff? Seeing none. Mr. Cody, you still on the line?
Yes, sir.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, sir, I do.
Alex, E1.
E1 is a proposed directional well plot for a 1920 acre spacing unit for sections 6 and 7 of 141 North, 98 West, and section 31 of 142 North, 98 West. The purpose of this exhibit is to outline the 4 proposed Middle Bakken laterals shown with a dashed green line, and also the 1 surface location that would be a tentative surface location in order to increase capital efficiencies. And we also are showing that solid green line to be an existing lateral there.
Okay, E2.
E2 is an alternative directional well plot for the 1280 and 640 acre spacing unit for sections 6 and 7, 141 north, 98 west, and section 31 of 142 north, 98 west. Again, this would point out the 8 required laterals for this development pattern, shown with the dashed green lines, and the 2 surface locations shown by those red boxes.
Okay, and exhibits E3 and E4, are those identical to the economics exhibits that were presented in the consolidated cases?
Yes, sir.
So all the testimony you would have provided in the consolidated matters would be equally applicable here?
Yes, sir.
And is that also the case with respect to E5, identical to the exhibit for the wellbore schematic in the consolidated matters?
Yes, sir.
And the testimony in that case would be equally applicable here?
Yes, sir.
And GM1, that's a gas capture affidavit that the commission typically requires in these sorts of matters, is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
In your opinion, will the requested relief prevent waste, protect correlative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes, sir.
No further questions, offer the exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Are there any questions from commission staff? Seeing none, I would note that we do have a letter of opposition from a Robert Dennis in this matter. Did you want a chance to address that, or?
Well, I believe what Mr. Dennis is suggesting is that we have some sort of overlapping 1920s. I think, I think the testimony that's in the record adequately explains why Continental Resources is requesting relief that it wants, and that what they're suggesting just doesn't work.
Lawrence, there's an existing 1,280 acre unit well that evidently now is White Rocks. Just north, it's been drilled in 30 and also 31 dual leg. And it indicates that Dennis's interest is in section 30. Can you explain what's going to happen to production on this particular 1920? Will a third of the revenue from these proposed wells go to sections 30 and 31? How will that be distributed?
I'm not sure how Continental Resources will handle that. If Continental Resources handles it along the lines that the commission has taken the position it should be handled, then 50% of the revenue that goes to the owners in Section 31 would go to Section 30. I don't know if Continental handles these matters that way, so I can't say with 100% certainty that that's what's going to happen. And I'm not trying to duck your question, I just don't know the answer.
Eric, can you tell us if Continental owns any interest in 18, 19, and 30 immediately north of this?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So section 18 and 19, Continental does have a leasehold working interest there. Section 30, it is my understanding that we do not have any interest.
Okay, do you know approximately what your percentages are in 18 and 19?
They are fluid, so we are actively, attempting to lease additional minerals in both 18 and 19. I don't have the percentages here. I just have the kind of the latest and greatest, net acres that we've picked up. I can try to do some quick math if you'd like.
No, that's all right. If the 3 mile laterals work in this area, is it Continental's intent to possibly look at a 3 mile lateral across 18, 19, and 30?
I'll answer. Is that okay if Alex answers that?
Yeah, that's fine.
So that would definitely be a possibility for the development of these sections. Another possibility could be a laydown on 3 mile. We're still exploring avenues to ensure that the leasehold is taken care of on the development standpoint.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Examiner, if I could maybe just expand a little bit on my answer to Mr. Hicks's question. Perhaps the commission isn't aware of this, but there's a case in federal district court right now to make a determination as to whether the approach that the industrial commission has taken for a number of years as to how revenue should be allocated and expenses should be allocated when you have overlapping spacing units. The federal district court just recently certified to the North Dakota Supreme Court specific questions that it's asking the North Dakota Supreme Court to answer. So we're going to have a matter before the North Dakota Supreme Court which is going to specifically address your question, Mr. Hicks. Given the time frame that Mr. Cote indicated these wells will be drilled, I suspect we'll have an answer from the North Dakota Supreme Court on how this should be handled before these wells are drilled. So that probably would have been a much better response to your question rather than saying I wasn't sure how Continental will handle it. I'm sure that they will follow the direction of the North Dakota Supreme Court on that issue.
Are they waiting on the Supreme Court's decision on that, or is that something that they haven't heard yet?
The Supreme Court has not heard the case yet, and I don't even know if Continental is aware of the fact that the matter is before the North Dakota Supreme Court. I know Continental is aware of the fact that it was before the Federal District Court, but the recent certification to the North Dakota Supreme Court is very recent. I think it's been in the last couple weeks or so. And now a briefing schedule will be set, and oral arguments will be held, and then we'll get a decision hopefully within the next 6 to 9 months.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Are there any further questions from commission staff? Anything further, Mr. Bender?
Nothing further.
That will conclude the hearing in case number 29256. The time is 10:23. Why don't we go ahead and take a 5-minute break? Reconvene here around 10:28.
Were you aware of that
We turned
federal case? And,
And we are back on the record. Next up, we are hearing case number 29257. Application of Rimrock Oil and Gas, Williston LLC for an order amending the field rules for the Twin Buttes Bakken Pool, Dunn County, North Dakota, to create and establish an overlapping 1,600-acre spacing unit comprised of the east half of Section 21 and all of Sections 22 and 23, Township 147 North, Range 92 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 2 wells on said proposed overlapping 1,600-acre spacing unit and or such other and further relief as appropriate. Will all interested parties please come forward?
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, appearing in this matter, case 29257 on behalf of Rimrock Oil and Gas. And we intend to call 3 witnesses in this matter. Ms. Jennifer Bland will be offering some land testimony. Mr. Glenn Schmidt will be offering some geologic testimony. And Mr. Mark Schutt, S-C-H-U-T-T, will be offering some engineering testimony. All 3 witnesses will be appearing by telephone.
I will begin with Ms. Bland. Can you hear me?
I can.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Jennifer, state your name for the record, please.
Jennifer Bland,
And Jennifer, by whom are you employed?
Rimrock Oil and Gas, Williston LLC,
And in what capacity?
the Land and Regulatory Manager.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
I have.
And have you had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
I have.
For the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
The testimony will be received as that of an expert.
Thank you. Jennifer, let's go to L1. Very briefly, identify Exhibit L1 and tell us what's contained upon it.
Exhibit L1 is a general locator map showing the proposed spacing unit in green. This unit covers the east half of Section 21, all of Sections 22 and 23 of 147 North, Range 92 West, within the Twin Buttes field.
Okay, and L2.
Exhibit L2 is a land plat showing this proposed spacing unit, highlighting that it's within the Twin Buttes Federal Indian Unit that's within this field. It also depicts that, or also breaks out the ownership within the unit, which applies to the unit as well as this spacing unit in the table below, where Rimrock Oil and Gas owns approximately 97%.
No further questions of the land witness.
Any questions from commission staff? Seeing none? Mr. Schmidt, can you hear me?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Glenn, state your name for the record, please.
Glenn Schmidt,
And Glenn, by whom are you employed?
Rimrock Oil and Gas, Williston LLC.
What capacity?
I'm the Chief Development Officer.
And you're a geologist, is that correct?
Yes.
And you've testified before the commission previously?
Yes,
And you've had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
I did.
For further testimony, this witness that of an expert.
The testimony will be received as that of an expert.
Glenn, let's turn to G1. Very briefly, describe what's contained on G1.
It's G1 is a structure map with a location of the proposed DU. So the red box is the proposed DU, which comprises the half Section 21, Sections 22 and 23 in 147, 92 West. Top shows that the structure ranges from 7950 to 8050, bottom of sea level, below sea level on the DU. And I'd like to draw your attention to the type log locator, which is located about 2 miles north of the proposed DU.
Okay, G2, let's talk about that then.
G2 is type log for the area. This is the closest set of open logs to the proposed development unit. You can see the development area comprised of the Bakken and the Three Forks. We will be drilling into the Bakken member. Total pay take we found in the upper Bakken shale, which is about 15 feet thick. The middle Bakken member, which is the primary target, and it's about 45 feet thick. The lower Bakken shale also contributes, being 15 feet thick, and the Three Forks is also charged. Upper member, anyways, which is also about 50 feet thick. Total about 140 feet of hydrocarbon bearing section.
No further questions.
any questions from commission staff? Seeing none, move on. Mr. Shutt, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Mark, state your name for the record, please.
Mark Shutt,
And Mark, by whom are you employed?
Rimrock Oil and Gas.
What capacity?
I'm the Reservoir Engineering Manager and Development Manager.
And you've testified before the commission previously?
Yes, I have.
And you've had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
The testimony will be received as that of an expert.
Mark, let's go to Exhibit E1. Please identify E1 and then very briefly describe what's contained upon it.
Okay, we have the proposed directional well plot. The current producing wells are the solid green lines. The Three Forks wells have the orange circles at the toe end, and then the Bakken wells are green. The proposed wells are the dash lines in the south half, the south part of the unit.
And E2?
E2 is our well construction diagram, standard well design, 9 5/8 inch surface, 7-inch intermediate with a 4.5 inch liner. The completion will be pretty typical, also about 1,000 pounds per foot, about 45 stages for this about 12,500 foot well.
And E3?
E3 is summary of the reserves in economics. So GUR, about 850 standard cubic feet per barrel. Space thickness about 40 feet. Porosity about 5%. Water saturation about 30%. So those are all rounded numbers. Going down to the economics, our EUR is a little over 750,000 barrels for the gas, a little over 1.2 BCF. Capital cost about $9 million. Operating cost $25,000 per month. Gives us an NPV 10 of $7.2 million, rate of return of 52%, and a payback of about 2 years.
And E4, is that a gas capture affidavit that's typically required by the commission in these sorts of hearings?
Yes.
In your opinion, will the requested relief prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes, it will.
No further questions. Offer the exhibits.
The exhibits are admitted. Are there any questions from commission staff?
Mark, on your exhibit E1, are you gonna drill these wells from existing well pads in the south?
Yes, we will.
Southwest, southeast of 21?
Yes, we will.
And how far from the spacing unit boundary is the south well planned to be?
The south well will be a little bit, about 525 feet from the south line.
Okay, and then how far north of that is the next well?
It was about, it was about 600 feet north of the south well.
Okay, thank you.
Huh?
Mark, this is Bruce Hicks. Of course, this area doesn't have any gas infrastructure in the area. Can you give us an update on what you're trying to attempt to market the gas?
This is Glenn Schmidt. Do you mind if I answer the question?
Yeah, who's talking? Glenn?
Glenn Schmidt.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so currently out in the field, we have been using a combination of JT kits, and then we'll run it through high-density computing to utilize the gas to either generate Bitcoin or use it for mass kind of computing operation. We do plan on doing the same thing in the local time, in the short time period in this area for any new wells that we would drill, and that'll consume most of the gas. Long term, we are engaged in a process to bring pipe into this area that we hope to get in place by about 2024.
You want to, what was that last portion again?
All the long-term plans are that we bring pipe into this area. There currently is a request for proposal from a partner in this area for tie-in down to the One Oak system that we are participating in and helping to facilitate that we would hope would bring gas gathering to this place by 2024.
Okay, and would this be a third-party vendor that would run the line to One Oak system, or is it a midstream operator that has their own gas plant?
This would be a third party. Well, at the point right now, it's in the request for proposal stage, so various third parties have been bidding on that.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions from staff? Seeing none, is there anything further in this matter, Mr. Bender?
Nothing further.
That will conclude the hearing in case number 29257. Moving on. Case number 29258. Application of Hunt Oil Company for an order amending the field rules for the Zoal Bakken Pool, Williams County, North Dakota, to create and establish 3 overlapping 2560-acre spacing units comprised of sections 1, 12, 13, and 24, sections 2, 11, 14, and 23, and sections 3, 10, 15, and 22, Township 159 North, Range 101 West, authorizing the drilling, completing, and producing of a total not to exceed 10 wells on each proposed overlapping 2560-acre spacing unit, and such other relief as appropriate. Will all interested parties please come forward?
When you hear the tone, you will be the third person to join the meeting. Joining the meeting.
Benjamin, are you there?
I am.
Okay. It's hard to hear you.
Oh, hold on.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better. Thank you. Mr. Examiner, Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, North Dakota. And I'm appearing in this matter on behalf of, let me get my Hunt Oil Company, and we intend to call 3 witnesses in this matter. Mr. Benjamin Germany will be offering some land testimony. Mr. Sean Kincaid will be offering some geologic testimony, and Ms. Emily Worth will be offering some engineering testimony. And all 3 witnesses will appear by telephone.
Mr. Germany, are you on the line?
I am.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Benjamin, state your full name for the record, please.
My name is Benjamin Germany,
And Benjamin, by whom are you employed?
Hunt Oil Company,
In what capacity?
as senior landman.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
I have.
And you've had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
I have.
For the further testimony, this witness is that of an expert.
The testimony will be received as that of an expert.
Thank you. Benjamin, let's turn to the packet of exhibits for this case. And let's skip the first page and go to Exhibit 1. Can you tell us what Exhibit 1 is, please?
Yes, Exhibit 1 is a regional location map showing the Zoal Bakken Pool.
And Exhibit 2.
Exhibit 2 is a map of the existing 1,280-acre spacing units along with the proposed 2,560-acre spacing units within Zoal Field.
Okay. And so you got 6 1280s and you want to create 3 2560s, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then let's go to Exhibit 3.
Exhibit 3 is a table showing the working interest in the existing
1,280 acre spacing units, as well as the working interest in the proposed 2560 acre spacing units.
And in each case, when you combine the 1280s to create the 2560s, Hunt has a majority interest, is that correct?
That is correct.
No further questions of the land witness.
Are there any questions from commission staff? Seeing none, move on to Mr. Kincaid. Are you on the line?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony that you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Sean, state your name for the record, please.
My name is Sean Kincaid.
And Sean, by whom are you employed?
Hunt Oil Company.
In what capacity?
As a geologist.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
I have not.
What I'd like you to do, Sean, is very briefly tell us a little bit about your educational background and your work experience.
Yes, so I received my bachelor's degree in geology from the University of Arkansas in 2016, and I also received my master's degree in geology from the University of Arkansas in 2018. Following that, I started work as a geological technician with Arch Energy Partners for approximately 10 months. And following that role, I joined Hunt Oil Company as a geological technician for about a year. And in the past 2 years that I've been with Hunt, I have been employed as a geologist.
Okay. And in preparation for today's hearing, have you made a thorough study and review of all the relevant geologic matters concerning the request of Hunt in this matter?
Yes, I have.
And have you prepared or had prepared under your control and supervision some exhibits you intend to sponsor?
I have.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
The testimony will be received as that of an expert.
Sean, let's go to the next exhibit in the packet, Exhibit 4. Can you tell me what that is?
Yes, Exhibit 4 is a structure map on the top of the Bakken Formation across the Zoal field. The structure map is labeled by subsea values and has a contour interval of 50 feet. The proposed 2560 DSUs are highlighted in red, and the type log for the Zoal field is also highlighted by the red circle.
Okay, let's go to that cross-section, Exhibit 5. Can you briefly discuss what is contained on Exhibit 5?
Yes, Exhibit 5 is the type log for Zoal field. Track 1 of the well log is showing the gamma ray curve. Track 2 is showing the density porosity and neutron porosity curves, and track 3 is showing the resistivity curves. The top and the base of the Bakken pool is indicated by the dashed black line, and the middle Bakken reservoir and the Three Forks First Bench reservoir are highlighted in yellow.
No further questions of this witness.
Are there any questions from commission staff?
Sean, are there any geologic inconsistencies between the north and south 1280s in the area?
No, sir.
Any geologic hazards, faults, folding of note?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Sean, in your opinion, the Bakken pool has uniform thickness, porosity, and permeability across the 2560 acre spacing unit?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on, Ms. Worth, are you on the line?
I am.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Emily, state your name for the record, please.
My name is Emily Wirth.
And Emily, by whom are you employed?
Hunt Oil Company
In what capacity?
as a reservoir engineer.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
No, I have not.
What I'd like you to do, as Sean did, is briefly highlight for us your educational background and work experience.
So I graduated from Texas A&M University in 2019 with a bachelor's degree in petroleum engineering. I then went on to be a production engineer for Hunt Oil Company for about 1 year, and then I've been in the reservoir engineering role for almost 2 years.
In preparation for today's hearing, have you made a thorough study and review of all the relevant engineering matters concerning this request?
I have.
And have you prepared or had prepared under your control and supervision some exhibits you intend to sponsor?
Yes.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
The testimony will be received as that of an expert.
Thank you. Emily, let's go to the next exhibit in the packet, Exhibit 6. Can you identify Exhibit 6 and then briefly describe what's contained upon it?
So Exhibit 6 is the proposed development of the 2560 acre units in the Zoal field in Williams County, and this depicts both the existing 1280 spacing unit and the proposed 2560 spacing unit. And the dark blue lines, the solid ones, are existing Middle Bakken wells. The solid red line is an existing Three Forks well. The dotted blue lines are the proposed Middle Bakken wells, and the dotted red lines are proposed Three Forks wells. And just going in a little bit on the spacing, so on the end cap unit, we're doing approximately 915 feet for the tighter spacing, and the parent wells are not for uniform spacing. The well on the other side of the parent is 1,400 foot, and the middle unit is 1,400 foot spacing.
Okay, let's go to Exhibit 7. Identify Exhibit 7 and then highlight for us the importance with respect to Exhibit 7 to the hearing that's before the Commission today.
So Exhibit 7 is the production comparison of existing wells in the current 1280 acre unit in the 10-3 and 1522, which is the western unit. And you can see here that the production is very similar within a small range of error. So these could be considered equivalent wells.
Okay, so it confirms what the geologic witness testified, that we have uniformity of permeability, porosity, and thickness, and no apparent faults or anything like that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, let's go to Exhibit 8. Can you tell us what Exhibit 8 is?
Exhibit 8 is the production comparison of the existing wells in the current 1280 spacing units for 11-2 and 14-23, which is that middle section. And you can see again that these are very similar production profiles, and they can be considered comparable wells.
Okay, once again confirms the geologic testimony. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and Exhibit 9?
Exhibit 9 is showing the same thing. It's the production comparison of existing wells in the current 1280 spacing units in 12-1 and 13-24, which is the eastern side. And you can see that these wells are very similar in production profiles, and they could be considered comparable wells, which confirms the geological results.
Okay, let's go to Exhibit 10. Tell us what Exhibit 10 is.
Exhibit 10 is just a typical Bakken wellbore schematic. You can see that it's landed in the Middle Bakken or Three Forks, depending which reservoir we're drilling in, and it's about 150-foot frac stages, so there's about 70 stages per well.
Okay, and then Exhibit 11.
Exhibit 11 is the Zoal Bakken pool and the typical Middle Bakken and Three Forks reservoir properties, and then I've also included reserves and economics on this slide. So one thing to note, the Middle Bakken is thicker than the Three Forks at 45 feet versus 16 feet for the Three Forks, and has more water. It's at 49% water saturation versus the 23% in the Three Forks. And the Middle Bakken has a little bit more oil in place than the Three Forks because of that extra thickness. We've included the same type curve for both since we don't have a lot of data to work with. We're still trying to be a little bit conservative on this type curve, and that would result in a recovery factor of either 18% or 31% for the Three Forks. So we believe that these reservoirs communicate. So if you use the UIP and just assume that it was 1, it would result in about an 11% recovery factor for both of these. And the average investment per well is $7.4 million, which accounts for the current price hike and results in roughly a 50% ROR and an undiscounted net revenue of $9.3 million per well. and these economics are run on an average royalty interest of 18.4% using the strip price from January. And by combining the 1280s into 2560s and bypassing that extra 150-foot step back, this accounts for an additional $6.6 million of undiscounted value, and 158,000 barrels will be created for royalty and interest working interest holders across all the 22 future wells. Now, these economics that you see here, that is including that extra little bump that we get from the 150 foot.
Okay, and then Exhibit 12.
Exhibit 12, these are the proposed facilities. So the facility cost and land usage on existing 1280 acre spacing units versus the proposed 2560 acre spacing units. So as expected in the existing 1280 units, you're going to have a little bit bigger facility since you need to have 2 per pad. And so this would be about 27 total acres and $16.8 million for those. But if we're allowed to combine these into the 2560, that would decrease the land usage overall by about 6 acres and overall save us $7.8 million.
And Exhibit 13, is that a gas capture affidavit that is typically required by the commission in these sorts of hearings?
Yes.
Okay. And then one clarification, Emily, if we can go back just for a second to Exhibit 11. You talk about the additional recovery you're going to get if by eliminating the 150-foot setback. Is that a 150-foot setback on both sides, or you just feel it, so in essence 300 feet, or are you talking about just 150?
Just 150 per well. So each one in the 2560 would include an extra 150 feet.
Okay. That's all the questions I have for this witness, Mr. Examiner. We would offer the exhibits that were presented by the 3 witnesses.
The exhibits are admitted. Are there any questions from commission staff?
Emily, looking at your exhibits 7, 8, and 9, looks like there's a marked decrease in productivity from east to west. How do you, I guess, how do you plan to develop the 1920s? Will you drill all the wells in each, or sorry, how do you plan to develop the 2560s? Will you drill all the proposed wells in the 2560 at one time? And will you be developing, which spacing unit would you be developing first?
So we will be developing the middle and the eastern units first, and then we will eventually come back and finish infilling those and doing the west one.
So which wells on the 2560s would you drill first if you're not going to drill them all out at once?
If you look at Exhibit 6 on the 12.1 and the 13.24 section, it'll be the 4 easternmost wells, and then on the middle section, it'll be the 4 westernmost wells. So we're going to be, the initial plan is to do 8 wells at first. This plan is not set in stone yet, but that is what we're looking at right now.
Okay, thank you.
Emily, on exhibits 7 and 8, it appears the wells to the south perform better than the wells to the north.
Yes, so for these wells, we don't really see any difference geologically, so we're expecting them to have similar production. This, we really think it's a coincidence that the south and the north are performing differently. These are older completions, so we expect to see improved production with the newer completion.
And what are you basing that assumption on?
That the newer completions would result in better wells, that assumption?
Were the 2 existing offsetting wells in each spacing unit, were they completed similarly?
Yes, these were all completed very similarly, but you have to know that this is a very small sample size. And so once we get more wells in, we expect them to average out. And in every sample, you're going to see higher and lower performers, and we expect to see a general average come out of these once we start getting more data in our sample set.
On Exhibit 9, on the south graph, or the bottom graph, is that a typo for the well name, for the Scorio 1423H1?
Yes, I apologize. That is a typo. That should be 1324. Or no, I believe that, sorry. The 12, yes, that should be 1324.
On your Exhibit 12, on the top picture, it looks like you're showing that you'd have to extend those pads to drill future 1280 wells?
Yes, so since we would need two separate facilities for the 1280s, it would require more land usage for these. So that red strip is the extra land that we would need if we had to keep the 1280 spacing.
And if you drill on 2560,
sorry?
if you drill on the 2560s, then you don't need to extend the pads?
That is correct.
If you were to develop future 1280s, why do you need two separate facilities?
Because we can't commingle the production, and we have to make sure they stay separate.
And why can't you commingle the production?
Really, it goes down to utilizing all of the acreage. Is we want to be able to bypass that 150-foot setback and use that, as opposed to when we have to do the 1280s, we have to drill, further away from the lease line, and we won't be able to exclude that. So,
okay, but my question is, if you develop this on 1280s, why can't you commingle the production?
we're open to commingling if it's possible, but what we're really looking for is that increased PV0 and decreasing our land usage.
So on Exhibit 11, you referenced the 150-foot setback that would be eliminated. So are you planning on drilling back these wells to take advantage of that?
Yes, we are. And the first set of perfs would be almost right on the lease line, so we could utilize all of that extra footage.
Okay, thank you.
Emily, this is Bruce Hicks. I'm looking at Exhibit 8, the upper graph. You've got a production increase on both wells at about the month 55 or so. Were these wells refracked, or what was the cause of the increase?
On the 11-2, that was a rod part, and for the 14-23, we just believe that's production variation that you typically see.
It was a considerable decline, change in decline on both of those wells. Did you also replace the pump?
I believe there was a pump replacement on the 11-2 at one point, but I just know that that large increase was due to the rod part.
Okay. And the WTI pricing strip that you used on Exhibit 11, what did that start out at?
I believe it was $80 something, 81 or 83, somewhere around there.
Okay, and What is the timing on the wells? When are you gonna spud the first ones?
Sure. So the first ones, we're planning on spudding them sometime later this year, and the other ones, we're still, all of the scheduling is still up in the air. But right now, it's planned for sometime in 2024 for the rest of the infills.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions from commission staff? Seeing none. Anything further, Mr. Bender?
Nothing further.
That will conclude the hearing in case number 29258. We'll move on to the supplemental docket. We have several cases that were remanded that will be heard in this room, and they will all be heard at the same time. Beginning with case number 29268, application of Mackenzie County Grazing Association for an order authorizing the conversion of the federal number 322 well, file number 6904, located in the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter of section 3, township 147 north, range 104 west, Mondack Field, Mackenzie County, North Dakota, to a freshwater well pursuant to NDAC 43020335. Case number 29269, application of Mackenzie County Grazing Association for an order authorizing the conversion of the Duncan Federal number 3024 well, file number 6959, located in the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter of section 30, township 145 north, range 99 west, Scott Woman Field, Mackenzie County, North Dakota, to a freshwater well pursuant to NDAC 43020335. Case number 29270, application of Mackenzie County Grazing Association for an order authorizing the conversion of the USA number 233341 well, file number 7155, located in the northeast quarter of the southwest quarter of section 33, township 148 north, range 104 west, Mondack Field, Mackenzie County, North Dakota, to a freshwater well pursuant to NDAC 43020335. Case number 29271, application of Mackenzie County Grazing Association for an order authorizing the conversion of the USA 433045 well, file number 7172, located in the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter of section 30, township 148 north, range 104 west, Mondack Field, Mackenzie County, North Dakota, to a freshwater well pursuant to NDAC 43020335. Case number 29272, application of Mackenzie County Grazing Association for an order authorizing the conversion of the ERRMU number 1-19HR well, file number 13185, located in the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter of section 19, township 145 north, range 100 west, Rough Rider Field, Mackenzie County, North Dakota, to a freshwater well pursuant to NDAC 43020335. Case number 29273, application to Mackenzie County Grazing Association for an order authorizing the conversion of the Squaw Gap Federal number 14-30H well, file number 14635, located in the southwest quarter of section 30, township 146 north, range 104 west, Squaw Gap Field, Mackenzie County, North Dakota, to a freshwater well pursuant to NDAC 43020335. Case number 29274, application to Mackenzie County Grazing Association for an order authorizing the conversion of the Grassy Butte Federal for number 14-32H well, file number 14658, located in the southwest quarter of section 32, township 146 north, range 99 west, Grassy Butte Field, Mackenzie County, North Dakota, to a freshwater well pursuant to NDAC 43020335. This case was dismissed. Case number 29275, application to Mackenzie County Grazing Association for an order authorizing the conversion of the Mondack Federal number 16-28XHR well, file number 14974, located in the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter of section 28, township 148 north, range 104 west, Mondack Field, Mackenzie County, North Dakota, to a freshwater well pursuant to NDAC 43020335. And case number 29276, application to Mackenzie County Grazing Association for an order authorizing the conversion of the Winfield Federal number 1-23H well, file number 15802, located in the southeast quarter of section 15, township 150 north, range 103 west, Foreman Butte Field, Mackenzie County, North Dakota, to a freshwater well pursuant to NDAC 43020335. This case was dismissed. And case number 29277, application of Sarah Short Sarbacher for an order authorizing the conversion of, sorry, was that part of this, the remanded cases? The 29277? Yeah, sorry. Begin again. 29277, application of Sarah Short Sarbacher for an order authorizing the conversion of the Elkhorn Short number 3 well, file number 12814, located in the southeast quarter of the southwest quarter of section 26, Township 143 North, Range 102 West, Elkhorn Ranch Field, Billings County, North Dakota, to a freshwater well pursuant to NDAC 43020335. Will all interested parties come forward?
Mr. Examiner, this is Mark Bohr with the Oil and Gas Division. These cases are all cases to convert existing oil wells to freshwater wells pursuant to NDAC 430203-35. There is a letter from the Bureau of Land Management addressing their interest in this in these cases. There also are previous letters that were sent regarding several of these wells by the commission to the Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management. They in turn sent response letters in. So we would want all those letters included in the record for these cases. We would ask that the well files be made part of the record. And several of these wells were also confiscated by the commission. So I would like to include those confiscation orders and hearings in the record for these cases to take note of that. Also request that the record remain open. I likely will have to have some correspondence back and forth with the Grazing Association or Sarah Short Sarbacher to make sure the record is complete in these cases. That's all the comments I have.
So we have the inclusion of the letters you mentioned, the well files, the confiscation orders and hearings, and all those will be included in the record. So those are admitted. Was there anything further?
No.
Anything further from commission staff? Seeing none, that will conclude the hearing for cases number 29268, 29269, 29270, 29271, 29272, 29273, 29274, 29275, 29276, and 29277. And that will conclude our hearings for today.